Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this webinar for potential applicant for Eurostars Call 5. I'm Giovanni D'Arezzo. I hope you can hear me well. If it's not the case, please mm, drop a message in the question tab so that we can help you. Just few information about this session. So the session will last approximately around 1 hour. And we will have like 40 to 45 minutes of presentation, and then we will leave like 10 minutes for the Q&A session. So if you have any question, you can use our question tab at any moment during the session, and we will reply to you in the end. Also, some other important information: this webinar is going to be recorded, and in the end, you will receive both the recorded version and also the slides. Can you just confirm that you can hear me so I can start? Okay, really well. Okay, so for those of you which are not familiar with Eurostars, Eurostars is part of the European Partnership on Innovative SME. And this partnership is co-founded by the 37 Eureka countries, so which are part of the Eureka network, and the European Union through Horizon Europe. As you can see here in the map, European Union countries are fully represented, even though Eureka countries also goes beyond of the European borders. Just a quick introduction about the topics I'm gonna cover during this presentation. So first of all, I'm gonna give you key dates from the submission to the deadline. Then I'm gonna talk about which kind of projects does Eurostars fund, and then I will tell you who can participate in Eurostars, which are the eligibility criteria and the funding. Then we're going to focus on one of the key evaluation process, which is the legal and financial viability check. Then I will give you a short overview about the application form. And last but not least, I'm going to talk about the evaluation process and the results. And then I will give you a bit of overview about the platform, so for you to submit a successful proposal. Okay, so when to apply? Tomorrow we are going to launch our call. So 14th of July, our platform will open. So from tomorrow on, you will be able to work on your application online. And the platform will be open for 2 months, so till the 14th of September 2023 at 2 o'clock Brussels time, which is the final deadline. So please remember that on the last day, you don't have the full day, but you will just have half of it, so till 2 o'clock. Okay, so let's move now to which are the Eurostars 3 projects. So basically, Eurostars 3 projects are collaborative, meaning that a Eurostars consortium can be made of needs to be made of at least 2 partners, and those 2 partners needs to have an international aim, meaning that those 2 partners needs to come from 2 different countries. Also, Eurostars projects are can be in any technological area and in any market area, because Eurostars have a bottom-up approach, meaning that we don't have a thematic call, but basically all technological and market areas are welcome to participate. Also, Eurostars 3 projects are market-driven. What does this mean? That basically a project needs to lead to a new product, process, or service that in the end of the project can then be rapidly commercialized. This is actually the case for most of the project, even though when it comes to biotechnological, biomedical, and medical projects, because usually the commercialization might take a bit more time, your goal, if you are in those fields, it should be to start your clinical trials rapidly after the end of the project. Also, just to give you a bit of more of information about this, please note that usually when it comes to the TRL, even though this is not binding for Eurostars, Eurostars project starts around TRL 3 to 4 and finish around 6, 7-ish, TRL 6, 7-ish. So yeah, this is important for you to know. Okay, just some information about Eurostars 3 project. So Eurostars 3 project have on average 3 to 4 participants per project. but this is just an average because as I mentioned before, the minimum is 2, but you can have actually more. So on average, we have 3 to 4 participants, but your consortium can be made of also 5, 6 participants. This is just an average. Also, another average is about the cost. So usually each project has an average total cost of 1.4 million euro. But again, this is just an average because some Eurostars project might exceed this number, can be double, triple, so just an average. Okay, I'm gonna move now to who can participate in Eurostars 3. So who is entitled to participate? Eurostars 3 program is really open program, so all type of organizations are welcome to participate, meaning that if you are an SME, a research institute, a university, a large company, you can participate in Eurostars 3. Even though the main target of Eurostars 3 are SMEs. And I will explain this better in the next slides. So basically, all the organizations that are based in Eurostars country, so the one that you can see here in the list below, so the 37 countries can participate, but also organizations that are not based in Eurostars country can participate in Eurostars, but in order to do so, they need to participate on a self-funding basis. Okay, so in order for you to be eligible to receive the funding under Eurostars program, you need to meet 7 eligibility criteria. I'm gonna go through each of them and I'm gonna explain one by one. So first of all, the first eligibility criteria is that the project is led by an innovative SME from a Eurostars country. So again, the main target is SME. So we want that the project consortium is led by an innovative SME, and the requirement is that it needs to come from a Eurostars country as well. Just a bit more of information about the SME status. So basically, in order for you to be considered as an SME, first of all, you need to comply with the SME definition as laid out in the recommendation, the EU recommendation 361 of 2003. And also you need to have the ambition to collaborate on research development and innovation with international partners. And also your aim is to develop innovative product or process that after the end of the project can be rapidly commercialized. Also, when it comes to the word innovative, please note that to be considered as innovative, an SME does not need to prove a track record of their R&D activities. Just a bit more of information about what actually EU Recommendation 361 is stating about the SME. So basically, the SME status, the EU recommendation is giving some ceilings in terms of number about what it's required to be an SME. So first of all is the number of employees, so the staff head count. That needs to be less than 250 persons. And the annual turnover needs to be lower or equal to 50 million euro. Or the balance sheet total needs to be less or equal to 43 million. Also, really important, those ceilings in the figure applied for just individual firms only. What does this mean? That if, for example, you are part of a larger group, you may need to include those information. So the staff head count, the balance sheet total, all the annual turnover, so those data in your SME declaration, also because this might change or might impact on your SME status. But what we strongly advise you is to check the user guide on the SME definition by clicking on the link that you can find here below, which will redirect you to the European Commission website, and then you can use the user guide for SME definition. Okay, second eligibility criteria, which is pretty straightforward. So the consortium for presenting a successful Eurostars program, Eurostars project needs to include at least 2 entities which are independent one from another. So the minimum is 2 entities. The requirement in this eligibility criteria is the independence between the two or more participants actually. Okay, third eligibility criteria is the composition of the project consortium. So the project consortium needs to be composed of entities from at least 2 Eurostars countries, with at least one country, so with at least one organization coming from EU or from Horizon Europe associated countries. This is important because all Eurostars countries are also EU member states or are Horizon Europe associated country, except for Canada, Republic of Korea, South Africa, Singapore, Switzerland, and the United Kingdom. So I'm just going to give you an example. If you set up a project consortium, which is made of organizations coming from Canada and United Kingdom, this is not eligible because you need a third or a fourth organization, which is or an EU member or an associated Horizon Europe country. Okay, fourth eligibility criteria. So it's about the budget regarding the SMEs. So the budget of the SMEs from Eurostars country participating in the project consortium must be at least 50% of the total project budget, excluding the subcontracting. And how you will calculate that? So basically you need to sum all the budget from all the SMEs in your consortium, SMEs coming from an Eurostars country, and this total budget, excluding the subcontracting, must be at least 50%. And please also note that this 50% is not rounded. Okay, fifth eligibility criteria is about the responsibility towards the budget. So no single participant or country is responsible for more than the 70% of the total project budget. And again, this number, as the previous one, is not rounded. Sixth eligibility criteria is about the duration. So the project duration, we have a maximum of project duration, which is 36 months. So 3 years is the maximum, but you can actually have less. So it's important that you know which is the maximum. And last but not least, eligibility criteria is the purpose of your project. So Eurostars project needs to have an exclusively focus on civilian purpose. What does this mean? So basically, it's important that in your project proposal, it's clear that you focus on civilian application, even though this does not rule out the participation, for example, of military partners, or in case you would like to develop a dual use technology. But it's important that it is stated in your project application and is also clear from your information that the focus is clear on civilian application. And how do we check that? So basically, in your application form, you will see that you will be asked to respond to a question, which is question number 13, which is the question on the civilian purpose. So the question clearly states that does the project has an exclusive focus on civilian application? And you need to make sure that you provide the correct answer, meaning that if you reply yes, you are actually stating that your project proposal has a civilian purpose. In case you respond no, you're actually stating that your project proposal does not have a civilian purpose. And this will make your proposal ineligible. Also note that all the 7 criteria are equally important. So in case you don't meet one of them, you will be your proposal will be rejected. Also, your project application must comply with all the eligibility criteria from when you submit, so from the day of the submission until you sign your consortium agreement, which approximately it's 5 to 6 months later. And also, something really important, note that during the evaluation process, in case any information about your project application are changing, in case you have any new information, you must inform immediately us, because this may affect your eligibility. So we need to check that. Okay, let's move now to the funding. So who can receive Eurostars funding? Basically, organizations based in Eurostars country can receive Eurostars funding, while organizations that are not Eurostars country can participate, but they can do it on a self-funding basis. So they need to provide in the application form a self-funding declaration. So how funding works in Eurostars? So basically, Eurostars funding is decentralized. What does this mean? That basically, funding is managed at national level, meaning that each country has a national funding body, which is an agency or a ministry, and they set up their own rules for each country. So each national funding body has independent rules from one country to another. So for you, it's really important that you check with your national funding body which are the national rules about the funding. Also because those rules are gonna tells you whether your organization can be funded, so which kind of organization are funded by your country, which are the activities that can be funded, and which are the funding rates and the thresholds. This is important also because you need to know that Eurostars funding is not cover the entire project cost, but you need to be able to fund the remaining cost by yourself. So you need to prove your financial capacity, and we will go through it later. Also, before you apply, it's important that you check, first of all, your national funding rules, but also if your country is actually having funding available for the current call. For example, for call 5, no Eurostars funding is available for organizations that are based in Bulgaria, in Greece, in Israel, in Lithuania, and in Slovenia. Okay, let's move now to the legal and financial viability check, which is a core evaluation process of Eurostars. And it's a check that is performed at national level, so by your national funding body. This is really important one because if one or more of the organization in your consortium do not pass the legal and financial viability check, the entire project application will be rejected. So it's really important that you understand what is asked to you at this stage and that all the project partners are aware of that. So all project partners will be checked by their own national funding body, and the national funding body will check whether the organization has provided a valid commitment and signature form as part of the application. So what is the commitment and signature form? It's basically a legal document which contains a list of declarations, and it needs to be signed by a person that can act as a legal representative for your organization. This is really important also because for some organization, I'm giving you an example, when it comes to university, research institutes, might be difficult or might be take a bit of time to identify which is actually the person authorized or responsible to act as a legal representative. So know that this process might take a bit of time. Also, the national funding body will check whether the organization who declare itself as an SME comply with the SME definition as laid out in the EU recommendation. Because you will be asked if you are an SME to provide us an SME declaration in your proposal, in your application, and the national funding body, they will check whether these information are actually true. Also, the national funding body will check whether your organization is a legal entity in the host country. Also, they will check whether the organization has not been convicted for fraudulent behavior. They will also check if the organization is located in the European Union or in the European Economic Area, and that it is not undertaking difficulties based on EU law, or if it is located elsewhere, still it is not in difficult financial situation, which might makes the funding make the organization ineligible and not able to receive funding according to national rules. Also, another point, national funding bodies will check whether the organization is compliant with the national rules to receive Eurostars public funding. In case they are not compliant, your national funding body will ask you to will first of all inform you, and then we'll ask you to request to submit a self-funding declaration by a certain deadline, so to provide to participate on a self-funding basis. And last but not least, the national funding bodies will check whether the organization has the financial capacity to support their own part of the project cost, because again, Eurostars funding is not covering the entire project cost, so you need to be able to have the financial capacity to cover part of the project cost. And also know that this assessment to the financial capacity is based on national criteria, which are actually established by each national funding body. So you need to check the national rules about that. Okay, let's move now to the application form. I'm gonna give you a bit of overview about the application form. So basically, the application form, the only one that Eurostars will accept, so the only way for you to participate is to submit an online application form by using our platform. Even though you also have the possibility to download a Word application form that you can find on our website in order to understand how the application form is made, which are the sections you can practice, you can work offline. So basically you can use that Word format, even though the only one accepted by Eureka is the online application. The application form is made of 5 different sections. I'm gonna go through them afterwards, and those sections are divided. Those sections can include also a partner-specific section, meaning that the responsible for that section is not, for example, the main partner as for other sections, but is the partner-specific. So one of the project partner, it's responsible for that section. For example, financial information, but I'm gonna go through it later. Also, you will see that the application form, so in the application form, you are asked to submit, to upload some mandatory annexes. So each organization needs to provide a commitment and signature form. And in case you are an SME, you need to provide an SME declaration based on the information that I provided you before. Also, you will see that in the application form, you have the possibility to upload Gantt chart or a technical annex, which are supportive information that may help you to better explain what's your goal in the project proposal, even though the advice is not to keep the technical annex too long, because you should be able to provide all the information that you about your project proposal already in the application form, because you need to be able to convince the experts already in your application form. So the technical annex needs to be just a supporting document for you. Also, you will see that in the application form you will have 2 questions about the SDG, so the Sustainable Development Goals, which are related to the impact, and also questions about the integration of the gender dimension into your scientific method. In case you're not familiar with those 2 information, you will see here that we have useful resources that you can actually go through and understand better what is required at this stage. Okay, just some small recommendation, even though some of them are already mentioned. Again, a Word version of the application form is available and you can find it on the Eureka website. Also, again, you can only apply by just submitting the online application form, so you must complete it through our Eureka project management platform. I'm gonna give you an explanation about that in the next slides. Also, just some advices for you really important. It's important that you start working since an early stage. First of all, because you need to familiarize with yourself with the platform, and also because you allow yourself to have plenty of days until the submission deadline. Okay, let's move now to the evaluation process. So basically here you see the timeline. So basically the entire evaluation process lasts approximately around 3 months. So from the application deadlines, again, 14th of September, 2 o'clock, it's around 3 months. From that moment, your evaluation process starts. And you will see that we have different steps. And at the end of each of the steps, you're gonna receive information, so results from us. So right after the application deadline, within 1 week of the application deadline, we will perform the eligibility check and you will receive the results about your eligibility. So whether your application is eligible or not. In case it is eligible, you will pass on the second evaluation step, which is the remote evaluation and the legal and financial viability check. And in the end of this process, you will receive the results, and usually can be by late October 2023. Then afterwards, if your project passes those 2 steps, goes to further evaluation step, which is the ethics review and independent evaluation panel. And in the end, you will receive results by early December. And if your project is approved for funding, then we will perform our funding process, and you will receive the funding results usually by the first half of December 2023. And afterwards, you must submit a consortium agreement within 6 weeks. So from 6 weeks from the time you receive the funding results, you're asked to submit a consortium agreement, and then the project can start. Okay, as I mentioned that you will receive the information, the results about your status, so about your evaluation at each step of the evaluation process. In case you believe that, for example, your application was rejected because of a procedural mistake during one of the evaluation processes, so the eligibility check, the legal and financial viability check, or the evaluation, you have the possibility to submit a redress request. A redress request, it's accepted first of all just on procedural grounds, and also is accepted only just by registered email. So you can send it just by registered email. Any other means, redress requests which are sent by any other means will be rejected. But it's important that in case you plan to send a redress request, you inform Eureka Secretariat by sending us an email. Okay, let's move now to the platform. So how to apply by using our Eureka Project Management platform. Here is the link. So it's myeurekaproject.org. By clicking on the link, you will be redirected to this page, and you will be you need to click on this competition listing and see the upcoming calls. You need to choose Eurostars 3 call 5, which is the current call. And once you've chosen the call, you will see that the page will give you a bit of information about that. So you will have the summary, so the description about the call, again, the eligibility criteria, the scope, the dates, so all the deadlines are there, and all the information are there. So once you entered in the Eurostars 3 call 5, then you can start a new application by clicking here. Once the new application is started, only the leading SME, so the main partner, can start an application. So it's the leading partner, so the innovative SME, that must register first. And the first thing that will ask to you, innovative SME, when you start the application, is to choose your organization type. So you need to choose innovative SME, of course, if you are the main partner. And then the other partners must be invited by the leading SME. You will see that the main partner will see that is able to invite project partners in the application team section. And the main partner can add a partner organization to the consortium by click on add a partner organization. And as soon as they are invited, they will receive an email that will invite them to register into the platform. Also, because the platform is collaborative, so also many people and all the organization can work actively on the project proposal. You can add a person to participating to an organization, and anyone from the specific organization or the main partner can add a new person to the organization. And again, this person will receive an email that will invite them to register to the platform. Okay, so as I mentioned before, you know that you will see that some sections in the application form are partner specific. What does this mean? That those sections needs to be completed by the specific partner, even though it's the main partner that can assign those questions to other partner for them to complete. You will also see that our platform gives you tips. So in the platform, to each question, there's actually stated what is required to you in each of the question, even though we strongly advise you to have a copy of our guidelines next to you, guidelines on how to complete an application, because they contain further instructions and they can always be really helpful. Also note that every section has a word count, a word limit. So keep an eye on your word count, because you cannot exceed the word limit. Just some information about how to properly save your information in the application platform. So you will see that you have two buttons. One is Mark as Complete button, and then the other one is Save and Return to Application Overview. So use the green button so the one Save and Return, to save the section that are not finalized, while you need to click on Mark as Complete every time you finalize a section. Even though it's important that you know that even though you mark as complete a section, you can always edit a field even though it's marked as complete. Of course, you can do this until you submit your proposal. And also, really important, only the main partner can review and mark a section as complete. Also, it's responsibility of the main partner. So just the main partner can create or remove a work package. And once the work package is created, then can be assigned to another project partner. Also, each project partner needs to complete their own project cost, their own cost per work package. And this is possible just after the main partner has marked a work package as complete and has assigned it to you. And every time a work package is edited, your project cost must be again completed by each of the partner. Okay, so let's move now to the project finances information. You will see that these are partner-specific section. So each partner needs to provide financial information for up to 2 years, up to 2 financial year. In case you are a startup, you need to provide estimates. And also, you need to check with your national funding body if other financial information, financial annexes are required at this stage. And in this case, you need to upload also what is required by your national funding body. Also, you will see that in the funding section, in your project finances section, in case you will participate on a self-funding basis, so if you're not requesting Eurostars funding, you can upload a self-funding declaration as part of your application form. Also, again, you have 2 mandatory annexes in our project application, in your project application. One is for all the organizations. So each organization needs to provide a commitment and signature form. And in case you are an SME, in the consortium, you must upload an SME declaration. Also note again that this SME declaration then will be used during the legal and financial viability check to check your SME status. So make sure that you complete this declaration in line with the SME definition as laid out in the EU recommendation. And also note that those documents are confidential and cannot be seen by other partners. Okay, something really important here. You will see that the platform allows you to check your eligibility before your submission. So you can use the check eligibility button and you can run an automatic check to check the eligibility of your project application. This is really important because you can use this button until the very end to check whether you are not eligible with one of the eligibility criteria. So it's pretty useful. Even though it's important to know that if you don't use this button, the platform will still allow you to submit, even though one or more criteria are not fulfilled, or one or more criteria are actually not meeting the eligibility criteria. So be sure that you use this check eligibility till the very end. Also, it's really important that in order for you to submit, all the fields must be marked as complete. And it's the main partner that is the one that needs to mark as complete a section. Also, make sure that all the information that you provide are correct before you submit the application. The platform will give you a pop-up also in the very end to ask you if you are sure that you want to submit and you're sure that all the information you provided are correct, because this is your final chance and then you cannot change your application information anymore. And also note that only the main partner can submit an application. Once the application is submitted, the main partner will receive an email that confirms that the application has been submitted successfully. And all the project partners can view or print the submitted application at any time by accessing in the platform and going into the dashboard, and they can see their application that has been submitted. Okay, just come to some few last information. So what happens in case your application has a mistake? So let's say that you submit and you realize that just after your submission, you realize that some information that you provided are not correct. You can only edit by yourself the following information, which are phone number, email address, and details of the contact person. So just those information. Even though, in case after you submit your application, you realize that you made a mistake, if you're still within the application deadline, so if the the call is not closed, you're still able to submit a new application. However, it's important for you to know that you cannot participate in a call with two different versions of the same application. This means that if you intend to submit a new application, you must immediately inform Eureka first, so we will provide to withdraw the incorrect version of your application, and then you will be able to submit a new application. Also really important for you, because this might require a bit of time, the platform does not um, automatically move the information from an application to another, but you will need to copy paste manually the information from one application to another one. Also, another question that you might ask if you already participated in Eurostars projects, in Eurostars calls, if you can submit a previous application that was not successful. The answer is yes. However, again, in case you would like to reapply with a previous application, you need to start a new application from scratch, and you need to manually copy paste the information from the previous application to the new one. Here you can find all the contacts. So the Eureka Secretariat contacts, which are here, the email you can use. Also, you will see that in our website, there's a contact your funding body section. So you can use that form to contact your national funding body. And also, we strongly advise you to give a look at our guidelines, because they can help you. Okay, thank you for your attention. The presentation is finished. Now I'm gonna just take out my camera and my audio, and we will give you the possibility, so we will stop for 5 minutes, so for you to be able to type your questions in case you have in the question tab, and then in 5 minutes I will be back to respond to your question. So thank you. Okay, welcome back. I hope you can hear me. So we collected some questions. I'm gonna go through them. So basically, somebody is asking, what is the maximum budget per project that can be applied? This is also something that you need to check at national level because you need to check the national funding rules, which is the maximum that you can apply for. Another question is if we have 3 consortium members needing funding, does each consortium member needs to be from a different participating country? So this is an eligibility criteria. So as long as you are eligible in terms of consortium composition, um, uh, this is fine. So you can be 3 different consortium members that needs funding from different countries according to their national funding rules. Another question is, do universities get funding through Eurostars or do they need to be subcontracted to an SME? So some countries fund universities, others, for example, don't. So there are projects where part of the work is subcontracted to a university, but however, it is important that the core of the R&D work is performed by the partner in the project, so not the subcontracted entity, or your risk is that you can be penalized by the experts. Okay, another question, do small startups with very little revenue but tech and 2 to 4 people have less chances to get the grant than more consolidated SMEs? Not necessarily. Many startups have received Eurostars funding insofar, even though careful because there would be specific funding rules for startups in your country. So again, when it comes to funding information, check with your national funding body. This is an information about Canada. Can the whole of Canada participate in the project or only the specific regions? So no, everywhere from Canada, because Canada is not a regional national is not a regional funding body, but is a national one. So the whole Canada can participate. A question from UK. Okay, it is correct that UK-based companies cannot receive more than 3,000 sterling in grant funding because of the minimus rules. Does the same limit apply to other participating countries? Also here, check the funding rules with the UK because it's a rule that is set at national level. Okay, here it's an information about partners. So is there any resources to find suitable SMEs? Okay, so basically you can use different tools. We strongly advise you to go through the EN, which is the Enterprise Europe Network, because there you can find many SMEs. Also, if you go on the funding and tender portal, so the one of the European Commission, you will see that there's a tool that is for searching partners. So you can actually filter by keywords for you in order to check. Also, check with your national funding bodies because usually they organize some company mission, B2B. So those are a good occasion to find partners. And also all the networking activities are good for spotting and identify potential partner or SMEs. Another question, can Poland participate together with Canada? Yes, so according to the third eligibility criteria, this is an eligible consortium because Poland is both a Eurostars country and EU member state. Another one, is the evaluation then centralized or do the national funding agencies evaluate it separately? Okay, so the evaluation is centralized at Eureka level. So we perform the evaluation process. The funding rules are decentralized. So the funding is decentralized, so is performed at national level. Another question is about the legal and financial viability check. So when the national funding body will check our application after submission the project proposal through the Eureka website? So basically, the legal and financial viability check starts immediately after the cutoff date, and it lasts approximately 3 to 4 weeks. And we strongly advise you to be available during this time, because national funding body may ask you to for some clarification to some question. So you need to be available during that time. Okay, another question. Okay, how much is the Eurostars funding quota ratio? So on average, the funding on average is around 30%. Let's say Eurostars 3 Pro calls as on average around 30%. But it depends on national rules. So it's important that you check those information with your national project coordinators, and also to know the level of funding available for your organization and for each of the call. Also because there can be potential ceilings, different funding thresholds, organization that cannot be funded, and so on. I think okay. Also, I mean, the funding on average can be 30%, but it can actually be more than 30%. Just a small clarification about that. Okay, I think that those are all the question we collected from you. I think we can close the session. I don't see any new question. But in case you have any, you can always drop an email to application. So the email that you saw before in our presentation. Again, you will receive the presentation, so the recorded version and the slides. And for any information, don't hesitate to contact us, and we will be ready and happy to reply to you. So thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye.